Malcolm McLean does this crucial thing very early on in his transformation of the shipping world. And that is he reimagines the nature of the problem he's trying to solve. So everybody who was engaged in moving goods from one country to another back in the 1950s knew there was a crisis. Everyone was fully aware that there was a massive bottleneck in the docks and it was strangling the world economy. And the way that everybody went about trying to solve that problem was that each link in the chain said we'd have to optimize our own operations. So people who ran trucking companies looked for ways to make trucking companies more efficient. And dock workers brought in all kinds of new technologies like forklifts and things to try and improve their operations. And the people who ran the ships tried to find ways to make greater efficiencies in freight ships. They all pursued these kinds of improvements, but nothing had any real impact. Along came Malcolm McLean, and he said, that's not the issue here. That's not the problem we're trying to solve. We're not trying to make each link in the chain, individual link in the chain more efficient. We're trying to improve the links between these stages in the process, right? What he understood was it was a problem of connectivity that was at the core of the issue facing international freight. And what he did was he reimagined the problem, and at every single stage in that process, rethought these links between the stages. So he went back to the companies and he said, look, you're going to have to think in terms of shipping things in a container. You've got to fill a container with stuff going to one place. That changes the way your production runs. It changes the kind of communication you have with customers. It changes how you think about new markets, right? You got to fill the container because once it's inside the container, it's not coming out until it gets where it's going. Then he went to the truckers and he said, look, we've got to design, and the rail company said, we got to design a container that works for everyone. One size, can't have 10 sizes. We got to use the materials to make this thing light enough. It can't be made out of steel or iron and be so heavy that it frustrates the whole system. And he went to the ships and he said, look, we have to retrofit the ships all in the same way. We got to be able to slide these things in and not have all kinds of wasted space. We got to make the containers so it can be quickly unlatched from the trailer, right? You can't spend 6 hours trying to take the container off the back of the truck. It's got to come off like that, right? I could go on and on. At each stage in the process, he would go to the docks, he would say, look, I'm going to bring in 40,000-pound containers. You've got to strengthen your piers. They're not strong enough for this. You've got to bring in cranes that can lift them. And then he went to the longshoreman and he said, look, I basically just put 90% of you out of business, right? Let's have a conversation about what that means.